What month is it?
It's May.
It's May?
Yes.
It's May.
For the win! Boom, garbage! The open shot. Who gets the play? Are you? Goes Hapanga.
Hello and welcome back to the Eastman Sport Report. It has been too long. I am your host, Maxwell Eastman, joined by my co-host, Steven Eastman.
Hello. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. We've recorded at least one episode since our last episode in February. We're talking about the post, our recapping our fun trip.
Yeah.
That one, we had video problems, technical issues, so it never got posted. We probably could do an audio only if we really wanted to.
We could do a Spotify special.
Yeah, we could do that with a Spotify special on that one. Anyway, well, we're back here on May the 4th.
It is May the 4th.
May the 4th be with you.
It's been almost 3 months since we uploaded a video that wasn't us in Texas.
Yes. So, welcome back. Today, we're actually hoping and planning on recording 2 podcasts in one day. Mm-hmm. So those of you who want to watch Niners news, this is your Niners podcast.
Skip to this time frame. It'll show on the screen when we actually start talking about the Niners. But we're just talking about regular stuff right now. And then at the same time when this is uploaded, there should also be a Kings season review and look forward to the future of the Sacramento Kings. But we have a lot to talk about for that. And that's just going to be its own video because that's going to be an hour at least.
Yeah,
of us just talking.
We could go a lot on both of them. So because it's been a while since we've been here in the Eastman Sport Report studios. And so that's what we're having, hopefully 2 podcasts. If everything technically works today, we will have 2 for your listening pleasure. So
wait, have we not talked since NFL free agency?
That's correct.
We should really upload that video that we have. So
even if it's just the audio. Yes. Anyway, so if we jump into the Niners news here, Niners news. Niners just had the draft, or the NFL had the draft. Had the draft a little over a week ago. Just finished last weekend, and Niners have 11 new team members for drafted, and then they got 6 undrafted, so they have 17 rookies on their team right now. In the 90-man roster, they have 17
exciting
rookies.
The one thing I do want to criticize about the rookie class, I haven't looked at a lot of the undrafted free agents, but I know just for the draft itself is that we didn't get a lot of offensive linemen. We got one in the 6th or 7th, I think.
6th, 7th round, Colby.
Connor Colby in the 7th round, pick 249. And I'm like, I understand the hyper-focusing on defense because we needed a really good defense, and having a really good defense with Robert Saleh is very important, and that can fix a lot of issues that we have on the offensive side as well, because defense wins championships, as Nico Collins likes to say. But Dallas Mavericks GM.
Nico Harrison.
Dang it, man.
Sorry.
We've been away for too long.
We're teammates here, working together in this. Okay. Anyway, so yes, the Niners, and actually one of the things in post-draft news, the Niners actually signed an offensive tackle. Did you hear about this?
No, I did not.
So they signed him after the time frame where after the draft and a few days after the draft, every signing from here on out doesn't count toward the signings for your comp picks. So the Niners are actually greatly positioned to you can get a maximum of 3 comp picks. And so we're going to get very high comp picks next year because of all the free agents we lost this year, from Travarius Ward to Aaron Banks to Dre Greenlaw. And there's probably many others that I could list there, but that's probably the top 3 money-wise that we lost. So they signed DJ Humphries.
Okay.
Now, he's probably not, if you look back on what he did last year, he was with the Chiefs, but he was injured last year, and he only played like 2 games. And so in one way, we lost Jalen Moore, and Jalen Moore kind of replaced DJ Humphries at the Chiefs, but he was injured, so he's coming off his 2nd year from, I think it was ACL injury. DJ Humphries was. He was a 2021 Pro Bowl pick. He was in the Pro Bowl.
Nice.
So like he's 31, so he's a little bit older, but he's definitely steps right in as the swing tackle. So he was definitely going to be their at least the leading candidate for the swing tackle position. Since we're talking offensive tackle, the Niners actually said they specifically wanted to draft some tackles and some offensive linemen.
Yeah.
They did say that post-draft news. And then they said that they didn't want to force it. There was some times that they really wanted one, and they didn't pick it. Now, looking at what they've said and everything else, they're actually thinking the thought is, from some of the Niners reporters, is that when the Niners had pick, I think it was 100.
Yeah. Our last third-round pick, yes.
Yeah, the last third-round pick. At the end of that pick, I'm trying to get my notes going on. There it is right there. So the Niners had pick 100. And the Raiders had 2 picks in front of us.
Okay.
Both picks were offensive tackles that the Niners were looking at. So Caleb Rogers, offensive tackle out of Texas Tech, and Charles Grant, offensive tackle out of Williams & Mary. I think, like the Niners, I think brought in one of them for a 30-30 visit. The other one the Niners were definitely looking at. So that was probably when we drafted Upton Stout was the cornerback we picked instead.
Yeah.
They were probably trying to get one of those 2 tackles, and they probably felt very confident because you're like, how often does one team have back-to-back picks and they pick from the same position? And so that's probably where the Niners were looking to draft an offensive tackle, and we didn't. Anyway, okay, so there's your tackle news. Any other? I studied tons of stuff in the draft things. Anything else you want to say before I kind of give my initial thoughts there on the draft?
Not exactly. I do think that Jordan James is the Kyle Shanahan would draft a running back every single year pick of. I think he is going to be good as our third stringer. I really hope we don't see him, I really hope we don't see him because that means that Garendo's injured. That means Christian McCaffrey's injured. And we already know how bad the Niners are going to be without a reliable running back. Because Kyle Shanahan's entire offense relies around getting the run game started to get the pass game started, so then he can just switch between whatever he likes. And I think that Jordan James, he was a good player in Oregon, but I think that I think he's going to be good. I also just want to talk more about him because they skipped over him in every single draft production thing because they were just talking about Shedeur Sanders finally getting picked in the 5th round. So I'm going to give him a little spotlight.
Is he your favorite pick? Do you have a favorite pick from the Niners draft pick? Do you have a favorite? We could talk more about Jordan James if you want to, but
I think my favorite pick was the Upton Stout pick because a lot of people were saying, I was saying the entire time that we don't have any cornerbacks. We don't have any defensive backs besides like Malik Mustafa or Diamador Lenore. Like those 2 are really good, but we need someone else. We need Travaris Ward is about to leave, and I understand why he's going to leave.
He already did leave.
Travaris Ward left, so we need someone else to play backup. And even when we had Travaris Ward, we weren't very good with him, so we need someone else to pick up his slack to fill in his spot, either with him or without Travaris Ward. So I think Upton Stout is a great pick because of how important the cornerback position with how pass-heavy the offense of today is.
The interesting thing about Upton Stout is he's a little short. I think he only comes in around 5'8".
Yes.
Or 5'9" is this one here. So, but he's super fast, super fast, and he's such a the analogy is such a dog, such a ferocious guy. But he's super fast, and I think he's going to be perfect for like you remember Kyle Williams used to be our nickel corner. I think he's really going to compete for the nickel corner spot. So if you have Renardo Green, who was our draft pick last year, which is really good. You have Denominator Lenore, who's our other leading cornerback. But you need at least 3 because nickelback, you always have 3 on the majority of the 60%, over 60% of the time, you have 3 on the field. So Upton Stout, I think, can totally compete for that with some other guys. Now the Niners did bring in a few other guys. Like who would he be competing with at the nickel spot? He'd be competing, I think, with Trey Brown is another one. Syrian Neal is another one. Those are all like free agent people, and they're all like, who kind of people. Like they have a possibility of being good, but Yeah, not a whole lot. So that's some of the people that he'd be competing with, Upton Stout, in that role. So yeah, good. My favorite pick.
Curtis, I don't. How do I say his last name? Roki, quarterback, Indiana.
Rourke.
Rourke.
Yes, to say it, Rourke.
Rourke.
Yes.
He was also drafted in the CFL.
Yeah, unique fact.
I don't think he's going to play in the CFL because there's a whole lot more money to get in the NFL. But
Well, I think they're looking at it as is like he's a good quarterback, and if he flames out in the NFL, then they have his rights to go to the CFL.
Yeah.
He has a backup plan. I don't know if he wants to go there, but he has a backup plan.
yeah,
My favorite pick out of all of them is CJ West. This guy. So the funny thing is after the draft, I love to listen to all the draft stuff and everything like that. After I went through everything and hearing kind of the different people, CJ West was the one that I jumped onto. Like he's just, I love his attitude. Did you hear some of his quotes after he got drafted? He's like, I hate quarterbacks. He loves to. That's what he's supposed to do. But he also said, like, I hate quarterbacks, and he loves hitting centers. So he loves to hit centers and smack centers, and just the attitude that CJ West brings. He's a 6'1", 316-pound guy, just massive guy. He's compared a lot to, from a Niners perspective, of DJ Jones.
yes.
So that's my favorite pick was CJ West. Just the attitude that he brings. I don't know if we can get a quote and just get him to do that. But like his quote where it's like, "I hate QBs."
Dang it, we don't play the Patriots this year. Did you see the first round pick for the Patriots' offensive lineman said he'd die for Drake May? Can they go against each other and see what happens?
That'd be interesting. The other thing I would say is just general overall for the draft. So there's my favorite pick. The Niners had a definite theme by picking the first five picks, all defense.
I agree, yes.
First, Robert Saleh is in the building. I do think it's also very funny that John York was hinting the draft picks.
Jed York.
We're
a team. See?
Jed York was hinting the draft picks. That was always kind of funny. While the draft was before the pick was in, he was hinting at it. Anyway, they picked these huge, massive guys in the defensive line.
Yes.
They basically had three of their top five, all defensive lines, from Mikael Williams, setting the edge, Alfred Collins, and CJ West. And their specialty is not pass rush, it's run defense. Why did we go after run defenders? Because our run defense was horrible last year.
Yes.
It was the 29th ranked run defense according to efficiency. Just horrible run defense. You couldn't stop anybody when it was needed. And so you get Alfred Collins, his quote was after he got drafted, he's in our second round pick out of Texas, huge defensive guy. Reminds me a little bit of Buckner. He's 6'6", 332 pounds, just massive. At him was CJ West, 6'1", 316 pounds. Alfred Collins' quote was, "The run will be stopped." And Mikael Williams, I think it's Mikael Williams. He was the quote they had from him. I think it was Robert Saleh. And things like he was the best edge setter in football in the college draft, or in all of college football last year. And when you run the wide nine like the Niners do, you have to have a Nick Bosa and another guy like him who can set the edge on the run, not just pass rush. But you're so wide that you have to be able to. You're wide so you can rush the passer. But to be able to stop the run is super important. I think that's interesting how the Niners cleared house with Leonard Floyd. Okay, he's a decent pass rusher.
Yeah.
Not good at setting the edge. Not good at run defense. And they let other people go that the run defense was bad. So let's just start over again. So they started with huge guys, and then they went super fast in the back, like Nick Martin, Upton Stout, Marquise Siegel, a safety they drafted in the 5th round. Just fast guys, super fast. So Niners definitely had a.
I also will say one thing. I don't think they let Kyle Shanahan into the draft room until after
until the 3rd round,
until the fourth round. They went, no, you stay out there, because 5 picks in a row for the Niners to not pick a running back is crazy.
Well, then he got back-to-back Jordan Watkins and Jordan James.
Yes,
running back, wide receiver.
And then you get the Marquise
Siegel.
Siegel?
Safety again.
The Siegel? He protects the skies.
Yeah.
Okay. In the Bay Area, okay. Safety. And then you get quarterback, offensive line, wide receiver. Again, you let Kyle Shanahan back into the draft room.
I know. Yes. So many other things I could talk about here. The picks that worried me originally were the third-round picks. Both Nick Martin and Upton Stout. When I first read about them and was hearing about them, first off, going into the draft, I was expecting in the third round, there's Jeffrey Bossa out of Oregon, and then Chris Paul. His nickname is Pooh Paul.
Chris Paul?
Chris Paul. Not
like Michael Jordan, the offensive lineman?
Exactly. There's a linebacker, Chris Paul, that was expected to go in the third or fourth round. I think he actually ended up going in the fourth round. And those are the two that I was thinking the Niners would pick. So then they got Nick Martin. I was like, who's this guy? And he's a little small for my thing to be for a linebacker. He's only 6 foot. I've heard 5'11", 6 foot, 220 pounds. So he's not like this big. But again, that reading more about him, he's super fast. And he's actually built more like Malik Mustafa, and then he likes to come in and hit. And just a bowling ball would come in and hit things. So I'm a little bit more excited about Nick Martin. And Upton Stout post-draft, kind of reading what people say about him. I was a little worried at the beginning. I'm also worried about, if I was to say my worried list, and this will be interesting to hear, like from a year in advance, am I good at this? Jordan Watkins. Okay, first off, Kyle Shanahan's very, let's say, hard on wide receivers.
Yeah.
Rookie wide receivers.
Yes.
Like, they don't play a whole lot. And like Jacob Cowing this last year. Like, okay, he was a punt returner, but you stay over there in that lane. Like, I think he caught like 1 or 2 passes all year.
He did good when he was catching passes.
In the preseason.
And he's way better than, like, whatever his name was, like Bell, or who's couldn't catch a pass to save his life.
I know, and you like put Cowing in. So like I expect more out of Cowing this year if you're looking at that for anything. But Jordan Watkins,
and of course, Ricky Pearsall as well.
Yeah,
hopefully he doesn't get shot again. Is there wood I can knock on?
Yeah, the table. And there you go. So Jordan Watkins, I feel like he's gonna go through that. So you're not gonna get much out of him. The other interesting one is Junior Bergen out of Montana. Did you hear about this guy?
Nope.
So he has
last pick in the draft for us, at least.
For us, yeah. He's like actually a couple picks away from being the
Mr. Irrelevant.
Mr. Irrelevant.
Anyways,
he's actually a former running back, converted to wide receiver. But his specialty, and they actually said in this Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch in post press interviews, the only way he's making the team is a kick returner. So
why'd you draft him?
Well, because he's like done like I think in the last 2 years he had 10 kickoff returns, or was it 10 punt returns, or 8 to 10 punt returns for touchdowns. And I think he had 3 last year out of 8 punt returns. Now he only had 8. I don't know why, but his specialty is punt returns, kick returns. I think specifically punt returns. So he's totally like, if he's going to make the team, he has to make it as the punt returner, kick returner. But
that sort of reminds me of someone. I don't know if they were I don't think he was drafted 7th round, almost last pick of the draft. But Tyreek Hill used to be a punt return, kick return specialist. He had a 92-yard punt return in college for a touchdown. So I'm not saying he's going to be Tyreek Hill. I'm saying that he could be something, and not just a kick return specialist.
Yeah. So that's what they said they have there. So that there. Any other players I want to highlight here out of this? If you jump back to the first couple round picks, I thought it was fun watching the first pick. Now, first off, I was watching this at a volleyball game. This was really fun. Max was playing. I was watching.
You asked me, hey, do I tell you about the Niners pick during the game? I said, no, I'm playing a volleyball game. I'm trying to focus here.
So in the draft prep leading up to it,
yes,
John Lynch had this pre-draft press conference a couple days before. If you listen to what they look for at a defensive end player, one of the guys asked him, a reporter asked him, "Hey, what do you want for an edge?" And he listed off the stuff that they want. And then if you look at Mikael Williams' draft profile. He was reading Mikael Williams' draft profile when he was saying that.
Yeah,
and so when you get to where they're at in the draft, and you hear that the Niners actually were trying to trade up to, we don't know if we're concerned, but most likely with Carolina at the 8th pick to draft Mikael Williams. They were trying to trade up for the guy. They really like him. So that's really interesting. But then the other thing I was actually texting a coworker, friend of the show, and I was texting him, and when the Niners are on the draft board, I actually said Williams is the pick, and I was right. So a couple of days beforehand, I probably would have predicted it wrong, but that day I got it right of picking McCall Williams for a first overall pick.
Nice.
Alfred Collins, I kind of thought they were wanting to get like a Walter Nolan was another name that I heard out there, but he was already drafted into the second. So I like Alfred Collins is just two big guys. But if you look at the draft, our defensive line probably needs 2 to 3 starters. And I'm like, if you look at Mikael Williams, Alfred Collins, and CJ West, they're competing with Kevin Givens, Jordan Elliott are tackles, and then Yurda Gross-Matos. I think Mikael Williams is a day one starter.
Okay.
First round pick, number 111 overall, first day starter. Alfred Collins, I think he's day one starter.
Okay.
CJ West, I think he's in a little bit more of a battle because he's fourth round.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
But I actually think all three of those rookies start him.
Dang.
Like all three.
You want to be quoted on that?
Yes, quote me on that. We'll check in on that in September and see if I'm right. I think you should start all three of them.
Okay.
Like you're right.
So 3 rookies and Nick Bosa is
Yep.
what you're saying.
That's what I'm saying.
3 rookies and Nick Bosa.
Yeah,
Okay.
your defensive line was horrible at pass defense or rush defense last year. You drafted all 3 of them to stop the run. I love the attitude of these 3 players. I think start them all.
Okay. Before we move on to other things, there is one more thing. I like the future of the Niners. I want to talk about one story that I heard that apparently came during draft day. Apparently, I think it was during the first round, the Niners were taking calls to trade George Kittle. That is from a source that I heard. I don't think is a reliable source, but from what we've been talking about and what we know for John Lynch is that we take calls for anyone.
Yeah.
If you have a good offer, we'll hear you out. We'll hear you out.
And Kyle Shanahan said, if you get a good drafter, I get an offer for myself.
Yeah.
John Lynch has got to take that. Mm-hmm. So
I agree.
Like he trade himself. Kyle Shanahan would.
So I think it was we're going to trade George Kittle for like 2 second-round picks, and it was like, first of all, I would never do that in my life because George Kittle.
How many first-round picks? I think how many first-round picks?
2
to get George Kittle.
To get George Kittle is 2 because George Kittle is an irreplaceable player. I think he is one of the best tight ends of all time, not the best. But he is still in his prime. He's still better than Travis Kelce. He's still better than Mark Andrews. But because he can block, he can pass, and the only reason why he doesn't, not that he can pass, he can catch. The only reason why he doesn't catch is because he keeps on blocking people. So I don't think there's a single weakness that you could say about George Kittle besides maybe his speed, and he can still outrun half the players on the other team.
He actually has really good speed.
Yeah,
so 4 or 5 speed. It's not like wide receiver.
So I think that it's not a big concern, which also shows that it's not a big concern because you just signed him for $76 million.
Yeah. So good job on George Kittle getting a record-breaking. He broke the guy who I forget who it was. He got $76 million, and then George Kittle came and beat him at 76.4 for 4 years. So Kittle took over the crown again of best paid tight end.
Highest paid, yes. This opens up the question. The Niners now have, for at least this year, $46 million in cap space. Now, the NFL is a hard cap, right? Not like the NBA where it's a soft cap where you can go over somewhat and then you just have to pay extra the owners just have to pay extra or somewhat. What are the Niners doing with Brock Purdy?
Well, they're saving a lot of that money for Brock Purdy.
I agree. I think...
And it sounds like what I'm hearing from other people is he's probably going to get close, and they're probably going to figure it out here in May to June time. Probably by OTA.
Can you please just figure it out? Yeah. I said this in the last episode that we didn't publish because of things, but sign Brock Purdy. Sign your players, please. I don't want to have to be waiting this entire offseason.
But he shows up. He's there. He's there at the voluntary stuff.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
Like
He's Brock Purdy. He's not a full of himself guy. He's going to go
Yeah.
and put the work in because he wants to put the work in, and he thinks that it'll make him better to do this, and he's not doing this some dramatic thing. But I'm just saying this to the Niners front office specifically: sign your players. I don't get why it takes these long bidding wars between agents to sign your players. Just pick a number. It's not that hard. Almost every single other team in the league does this. Sign your players. My gosh, it happened with Nick Bosa, it happened with Trent Williams, it happened with Brandon Ayuk. Now, all three of those were saying that you're not paying me enough money, so I'm not going to practice, and that led them to other things. But also, why didn't you just sign them in the first place?
Yeah. I mean, I agree. Now, I think he will get signed.
I agree, he will be signed at some point, but could you please
Let's just get it done with.
over?
Let's just get it done with. I
I'm just
agree.
going to double check to make sure that it's not happening while we are speaking.
The other thing I would say is other news. Because the Niners didn't draft an offensive tackle, they signed DJ Humphries. The other thing is they didn't draft a tight end. That's the only position group they didn't draft was a tight end. So they're actually bringing back Ross Dwelly.
I did see that.
He wasn't on the team last year, but previous
I think
years.
Ross Dwelly's a really good backup for us.
Oh, yeah, he's a great. Now, the other thing is they also signed Luke Gifford. Luke Farrell.
Because
Luke
I
Farrell.
remember whenever George Kittle wasn't out there, our production just plummeted.
Yeah.
And I always remember, well, this is also when Kittle was sort of healthy that we had Ross Dwelly. But I don't think Ross Dwelly ever did anything like bad for us. Like he's just
he's more of a blocker.
Yes.
But Luke Farrell's also more of a blocker too. But he's actually getting paid, so he should catch some balls.
Yes.
I'm actually curious. They might do some more 12 personnel with both Kittle and Farrell on the field at the same time. I'm kind of curious how they're going to do that. Would Luke Farrell also be like a lineup or Kittle line up in the backfield for blocking? As a fullback role.
Yes.
I think Shanahan loves to do that. Players that can go in multiple positions. Totally Kyle Shanahan thing. So. It's curious what they were going to do with Luke Farrell, who they signed for that. He's like probably their biggest name free agent that they signed. Besides, would Mac Jones be a bigger name? I don't know.
Mac Jones is not a bigger name than that.
I mean, he might be a bigger name, but he's not a bigger contract and not as good of a player. I think Luke Farrell's going to play way more. I mean, they technically signed wide receiver Demarcus Robinson, which probably will start the season as their number 3 wide receiver. But anyway. So, any other news that the Niners? The Niners actually have rookie training camp, or what do they call that thing? Coming up in a couple weeks, and they're actually bringing in a rookie kicker. Did you hear about that?
Please get a competition for Jake Moody. I think he can be good. I also just think he was injured the entire time. He was missing his kicks, which made him to be able to not kick. But if you're injured and can't kick, why are you out there kicking?
Exactly. Let somebody else kick.
Matthew Wright did great for us. I forget the other guy's name, but they did great. They did okay for us. Like, why is Jake Moody out here? He keeps missing these kicks. Get him off the field. We need someone else. So I agree that we need to bring out competition for him. I also think he should know when to not play.
Interesting notes for the undrafted free agents that the Niners got, because normally there's usually a couple that actually do pretty good. Like if you were to list who could be good out of the undrafted free agents, an interesting one is wide receiver Isaiah Neyor, N-E-Y-O-R, Neyor. I think I'm saying it right. Anyway, here's a quote from Dane Brugler of The Athletic. He's arguably the most gifted athlete in the 2025 NFL draft class. He is 6'4", wide receiver, 34.5-inch arms, ran his 40-yard dash in 4.4. So he's 6'4", 218 pounds, running a 40-yard dash in 4.4 seconds. Not only is his arms 34.5, that gets to his wingspan is 83.5 inches. That's greater than any wide receiver in this year's draft class, and it's larger than any of the tight ends.
That's crazy.
So this guy has the physical tools to be a good wide receiver. Now, why was he never drafted? Yeah, well, he didn't do a whole lot in college. He did some. He finished with 455 receiving yards last year. So I think he's kind of a project. But when a guy has the physical tools like that, like let's see what you can do.
I agree.
Let's try. The other one is running back. The Niners always do a really good job with undrafted running backs. Corey Kiner is this year's undrafted running back. I think he's going to, possibly compete for a roster spot because normally they did. Last year they had Cody Schrader. who actually looked really good in the preseason, and the Niners probably wish they'd had him, but they didn't keep him, and then the Rams actually swiped him up on the first day of cut downs. So they do have a couple others that might be interesting, but that's kind of where they're at there. They drafted, they got another defensive tackle who's 6'3", type of thing. So anyway, they have a couple others that type of thing. Any other draft picks that we did not talk about that I wanted to talk about? Oh, you talked earlier about Jordan James.
Okay.
You started off with Jordan James. My thoughts on Jordan James. I think actually this is the draft pick they got for Deebo Samuel.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Marquise Siegel was the one they got for Jordan Mason.
Okay.
Okay. Or it might be backwards. Anyway, I don't know. It's one of those two. Anyway, that's the two. How they got the 2 fifth-round draft picks.
Yes.
I think Jordan James is the Mason replacement, or some people compared him to Elijah Mitchell. So
Okay.
he's not the fast burner of Garindo, but he's a steady runner, and he's a little bigger. He's also really good at catching the ball in the backfield, and he's really good at pass blocking. So that's what you need out of your third one. So I think Jordan James will see the field. I think he will be contributing this year because Garindo's going to get hurt. Hopefully McCaffrey doesn't get hurt, but Garindo will. And I think Jordan James could be your finisher like Jordan Mason was.
Okay.
So there's my thought on him. I'm curious to see how all of these do on
Okay.
the field.
You want to do some way too early predictions?
Sure, let's have some fun.
Okay. Okay, let's do this first. Who do you think is going to lead the Niners in receiving yards?
Well, Ayuk's going to be injured for...
He's going to come back at some point this season, right?
So I think receiving yards. Are you talking wide receivers, or is Kittle considered
I
part
don't
of
care.
this?
Receiving yards in general.
Well, let's see. It's either going to be Juan Jennings, Ricky Pearsall, or Kittle is who I'm going to go for. Let's have some fun. I'm going to say, is that fun? I want to say Ricky Pearsall, but I think the safe pick is Juan Jennings.
I'm going to say Ricky Pearsall because I think that the connection between Brock Purdy and Ricky Pearsall that they had in the later part of the season was really, really strong. And I think that they're just going to be really good together.
Okay.
I think their play styles fit each other very well, with Ricky Pearsall being really good in man coverage and Brock Purdy being able to find the tight little windows just to throw perfectly to you.
Yeah.
So I think that they're going to work
I
out.
can totally see that. I like my Juan Jennings because I think last year he learned how to be a close to number one or out there in the field often. You know, with the injury of Ayuk and every other thing else, like he was out there so much. I think he's going to come back as a better wide receiver than he was last year.
Okay.
So I'll stick with my Juan Jennings. You got Ricky Pearsall.
I'm not going to say rushing yards because if it's Christian McCaffrey, and if it's not Christian McCaffrey, that means their season is screwed. But
Jordan James.
no,
Okay. Please be Christian.
don't
McCaffrey.
even with me.
Okay.
Who do you think is going to lead us in sacks?
I'd better be Bosa.
I think it would be Bosa, but I'm going to say some fun and say Mikael Williams.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Anyway, now that we're good with the stats,
Who
and
do you
everything,
think is going to be their best rookie?
best rookie? Mikael Williams or what's their cornerback or safety that they drafted?
Well, Upton Stout was the nickel corner possibility. Marquise Siegel was the safety, which with Malik Mustafa, we didn't talk about. Malik Mustafa is injured, and he injured in the last game of the season. He's not going to start the season.
Yes.
So Siegel could be competing with either Richie Grant or Jason Pinnock, who they signed as free agents. So, like, there's going to be a three-way competition. The other we didn't talk about is Nick Martin. I think he's going to be in a competition with D. Winters for the linebacker position next to Fred Warner, the one that stays on the field all the time. Both of them are kind of young and probably need some experience, so we'll see how that goes. I hope Mikael Williams is our best rookie,
Me too.
but I'm kind of wondering if if Nick Martin is what some people say like Malik Mustafa, I think he could be our best rookie.
I'm going to say Mikael Williams as well because I already said he's going to lead us
Okay.
in sacks. So I'm just going to double down on him. Anyway,
Okay.
do you think Brock Purdy is going to get to 4,000 passing yards this season?
How many did he get last year?
I do not know. Let me check for you. Because I'm so kind to you. Regular
Yes.
season, he had 3,864.
Is he going to be slightly better?
And then the year before that, he had 4,280, and that was 2023.
I think he will. Sure, we'll say yes to 4,000.
Yes to 4,000.
Okay.
How many 1,000-yard receivers are we going to have?
2.
I was going to say that too. Nice.
Okay.
Anyway, now that we're done with numbers predictions,
Okay.
let's go record predictions. No, we don't have the exact schedule, so
We know who they're playing.
We know who they're playing. We don't know when it's going to be, or.
Yeah, we find that in a couple weeks.
But I think the toughest opponents that we're going to face this year are in our division and the Texans. Because the other teams that they play, the Atlanta Falcons, I'm not concerned about them. That might be a trap game, but I'm not going to worry about that. The Carolina Panthers. They're the Carolina Panthers. Anyway, Jacksonville Jaguars could be trouble. I don't think it's going to be trouble, especially with how we played against them in 2023. So I think we're going to be fine with that. Tennessee Titans. They're the Titans. They just had the number 1 overall pick.
Sorry, I was clicking.
You don't mute your computer every time you open it for a podcast. And then we play the Bears at home. I don't think the Bears are going to be that good. I think
the Bears could be better.
No,
with they have the new Ben Johnson.
Ben Johnson isn't going to make that much of a difference. I think they're going to get to like 9 wins, but one of their wins isn't going to be against us.
Yeah, that's true. Okay.
Knock on wood.
I do think I agree with you that the toughest opponents we'll have are probably in the division because if we have a 4th place schedule, you're playing Cleveland and Houston on the road.
Cleveland's not going to be worried. I think Houston's going to be a problem. I get that their offensive line they don't really have that much of an offensive line, but if they are healthy, which they were in the beginning of the season, they were really, really good.
Yeah.
And then almost everyone get injured. I think
you look at home games, your toughest home game is the Rams and the Seahawks.
Yeah, I'd agree to that.
I mean, you're looking at like the Bears, no, could be. Titans, no.
Panthers, no.
Jaguars,
maybe. Falcons might be a trap game. That's why I'm thinking.
I mean, they have the new quarterback that's come in.
Michael Penix.
Yeah, maybe. So I totally agree with this. On the road, though, I think our toughest game could be the Houston Texans.
Yes.
Or
the Buccaneers.
Buccaneers are usually really good too. I still think though, even though it's not a tough, if I was picking this last year's and we had this schedule, I'd say we have 16 wins.
Yes.
This year's team, there's going to be some growing pains because we have a lot of rookies we're counting on and second-year players. Right now, I'm going to say we're 10-7.
I'm going to say, how do I math this? I'm going to say, I think it's 12-6. Is that right?
12-5.
12-5. 12-5.
12-5. Okay.
I think our ceiling is like 14-3.
Yeah, we could get
14.
to 14. I could see that, but I also could see us getting to like 8 and 9.
And if we have a season like last year where a bunch of people get injured and like we just seem off for some reason,
or these rookies aren't as good as we expected.
These rookies
I mean, if our defensive line is not what we're expecting.
Okay, so worst case, I think our floor is like 7 wins.
Okay.
I think
last year we had 6.
Yeah, I think our ceiling is going to be 14 wins.
Okay.
I don't think we're going to get 15. I don't think we're going to 16. We're not getting 17 wins. But yeah, I think that's just how the way this goes. I think we're going to at least split a series with either the Rams or the Seahawks. So probably oh my gosh. Probably split with both of them, honestly. And then I see us losing to the Texans. I see that we can lose to the Texans. I see that we can lose to the Buccaneers.
But we're probably going to lose to somebody here that we don't expect.
Yeah,
there's going to be at least 2 games that we lose that you're like, why'd we lose to that
like
team?
the Falcons, we might lose against them. Or like the Saints, we might lose against them for some reason. Or even the Bears if they're better than we think. Or
you
the Jaguars.
Better not lose to the Giants or the Titans, or come on.
If you lose to those.
Or the Cleveland Browns. Travis Hunter's going to go off.
Shedeur Sanders?
No. Oh, yeah, Shedeur Sanders is going to show to Travis. Is it Travis Hunter?
Travis Hunter's on the Jaguars.
Oh, that's right. Jaguars traded up to get him. Sorry.
Yes.
He's not on there. Sorry.
I would talk more about Shedeur Sanders, but I feel like enough has been already said. Laughing emoji.
We actually had fun.
We did laugh a lot when he got drafted.
Yes.
And he got drafted of all places of the Browns. Okay. I know I didn't want to say anything about him. What did you do in those pre-draft interviews? What did you do? The Giants were considering taking you at 3, and then you go to the 5th round? to the Browns?
He didn't take him serious. That's what he did.
I heard that he took a FaceTime call in one of the pre-draft interviews, and I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah, I know.
His entire brand is legendary, and he hasn't done anything yet. So
It's not been legendary.
exactly.
Yeah. Do you want to make a prediction on, because we're having fun here?
Sure.
I don't know if you have anything else to cover.
I don't have anything else football or Niners related to cover.
Okay. Who do you think the Niners' first game is?
I'm gonna say the Buccaneers.
In Tampa Bay. You think
In
we're going
Tampa
to
Bay, yeah.
We did start the season in Tampa Bay a couple years ago. Okay.
I think it's a good place to start the season, see where we're at,
And
have a test early. I don't think we're gonna play one of the easier teams like the Falcons or Panthers or like one of those or Jaguars or Titans.
Yeah,
or
we have
Browns.
9 away and 8 home this year.
I think
yeah.
think Texans are gonna be like mid-season ish.
Yeah, they might want to do that as a
Mid-season.
D'Amico Ryans against Robert Saleh type of thing. CJ Stroud.
Monday Night Football.
Yeah, that could be a big game. But I agree, the Niners. And if I was to, I don't think the Niners. Normally, you get like a maximum of like 5 national televised games. Niners, because they didn't have a good season, they might only get 4. But because they have such a big draw, they still might get 5. I'm thinking they could still get 5, but they might be like 2 Thursday night games.
I hope it's not 2 Thursday night games.
Yeah, probably will be.
I don't want to be the Broncos.
Yeah. Anyway. Okay, so that was our. So you said Buccaneers. I should have something.
Honestly, if we are going to play a Thursday night game, it's against the Panthers. I'm not lying. You know it's true.
I'm just gonna say
If you
something.
think about-
I'm gonna say something random just because, for the fun of it. We're gonna start the season in New Orleans against the Saints. I have no idea why, but that one's just popping out on me on top of the head.
Okay.
We'll see how wrong I am in a couple weeks.
Okay.
On the 14th.
Let's see if they drop 40 on us.
Okay.
I don't know. Derek Carr, week 1.
Isn't Derek Carr injured?
We'll
find
I don't
out.
know, honestly. I don't pay
Okay.
that much attention to the Saints. Okay, well we have to stop this so we can record the King stuff.
Yes. Thank you everybody for listening. We're back. Hopefully this all gets up there. Thanks for listening.
And if you want to watch the King stuff, click here. I think I'm pointing in the right direction. Okay, bye. Bye.